Hello. Happy Sunday, everybody. I wanted to go over the preview for next week on Beyond the Gates and talk a little bit other soap opera stuff for Soap Opera Sunday. It is Soap Opera Sunday after all. We will start with the preview for next week's Beyond the Gates, which starts with Vernon and Sharon still having a secret or a surprise for Anita. With this storyline, I still just can't wait for it to be over, really. I'm still quite confused why they decided to write this way in the first place. The show all along has shown us that Vernon really loves Anita and that Vernon is a great husband. He is the one of the people in the Dupree family that is loving and not a hoe. So them trying to write Vernon as a cheater has been quite a confusing thing. I feel as though the writers just wanted to have something for Vernon to do, and I guess this is what they came up with. But I think the writers for this show really need to start coming up with some entertaining, dramatic storylines over the next few months. I hope the show starts out stronger in 2026 than it is ending in 2025, because the ratings slip. They do slip. You know, they go up some weeks, but they slip, and they're on CBS, and CBS is going through a lot of turmoil with the whole new owners of Paramount, and the show could be in trouble if it doesn't get its shit together. And stories like this whole Vernon and Sharon keeping a secret aren't going to fly for long. I don't think it really sucks in viewers. It's not the type of storyline this show needed to do. So I just can't wait for that to be over with, which we all think will be a surprise for Vernon to sing to Anita. The other thing in the preview shows us Shanice and Ted spending Christmas together. They seem to be going all in on this possible Shanice and Ted pairing, which it grows on me more and more each time I see it. So that's a good thing for me personally. It does grow on me. I know there are some people out there that are not as excited for this pairing for Ted and Shanice because the character of Ted is dumb and he hasn't been written very well, and he is kind of he has been written as a dumb cheater, kind of. I know Hemi, my girl Hemi in the comments, does not really love that pairing because of the Ted side of things. And I can see that argument too. But for now, for me, it is growing on me little by little. So I'm not opposed to it. I do want to see where they go with it. I do think the writing needs to be a little stronger for it. I don't think it being just comedy relief, which is kind of what they've done so far with the whole Shanice being afraid of birds and Ted's gift for her for Christmas being a bird feeder. We got to move beyond that with the writing, though. Also in the preview is Isaiah and Eva having an intimate Christmas. Another pairing that I do like. I would love for the show to go all in on an Eva pairing, but I don't think they need to do that without the two having struggles, because they've done that with a lot of other couples already, especially Chelsea and Madison, that just fell in love so quick, didn't really have any real hurdles other than, Allison kidnapping Chelsea, but it still wasn't like a hurdle for their relationship. So I hope the writers are smarter with the Isaiah and Eva pairing and actually do give them hurdles. They have written Jacob to be very anti-Eva lately. And I think that only works if they're going to eventually pair Jacob and Kat in some spicy cheating story. But as for Isaiah and Eva, I do think they have possibly built up Isaiah just wanting her for sex. I think that is a possibility because he was wanting that to happen quick in that relationship. We also know he's rebounding from another relationship. It's Eva that wants to take it slower. They are looking intimate in this preview for Christmas week, but I don't know if they will be having the sex yet, but I guess we will find out. But that's another pairing I do like. Then in the preview, we have Hayley and Bill having it out again. Bill has been pining after the days of when he was a Dupree. We saw that for Thanksgiving, and this time it looks like Hayley is calling him out on Christmas, telling him the Duprees aren't his family anymore. The show is building up Hayley trying to isolate Bill from everyone else to probably take him away and finish the job of poisoning him to death. It's one of the more interesting stories going on the show because there is the potential for a lot of higher stakes drama there, or at least I hope so. It's good to see Hayley calling Bill out. Unfortunately, Lynette is not in the preview. We might have to have a week without Lynette. She is an exciting new character for me, but there are only 3 episodes coming this week of the show, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it will not be on, or there will be repeats on Christmas and on Friday. But I do like Bill looking dumb there with Hayley. The downfall of Bill is a good turnaround for his whole story. He started this show being very rude to Danny, throwing Hayley in his face, and it has all been backfiring him on a major level, especially with Hayley now wanting him dead and all. And then, of course, in the preview is Vernon learning that Anita has cancer. And she seems to be thinking that this could be her last Christmas, which is a dark thing to think about. I do think it's going to be a heavy story. I also do think, though, that Tamara Tooney is going to do really good in the story. I think she already is doing good in the story. So it's going to be a tough watch for me. It's not my favorite kind of soap opera story, which we'll talk about later in this video when I read some of your comments from this past week of Beyond the Gates. Also kind of a downer for the first Christmas for the show to have this Anita cancer storyline, but honestly the show does need some drama. I guess this is the kind of drama it chose to give us. Now I am going to just rant about Young and the Restless real quick and then talk about Days, and then I'll get to some of your Beyond the Gates comments. Been trying to watch all these other American soap operas the last 2 months. But as we get to the end of this 2 months trial period, I feel like I'm back to where I started, where I only want to watch Beyond the Gates and Days of Our Lives, because Young and the Restless last week was truly terrible. Like, the Victor AI storyline, I've been complaining about it the whole time since I've been watching again here on Soap Opera Sundays. And the Victor and Jack rivalry on this show, once upon a time, had to have been one of the great rivalries in soap operas. But I can say now without a shadow of a doubt that the Victor and Jack rivalry is probably one of the worst rivalries in soap opera history. I think Young and the Restless fans might get up in arms about that statement. What do you mean? It's gone on too long. Victor always having the upper hand. It's gotten so old, so redundant. And they write Victor like he's still in his 50s or 60s when Eric Braeden is in his 80s and he can't be that big opposing Victor anymore. I don't know why they even still write Victor the way that they do, but he's not like a well-rounded character anymore either. He's just a very one-note, basically villain of the show, which Victor was not in the heyday of Young and the Restless. I don't know. I think the writing sucks. I don't know why Josh Griffith writes business stories, because he's absolutely terrible at them. But the ratings for this show never go down enough. And when they do go down, they bounce back. And so as long as that's happening, Josh Griffith is going to be writing this show, and it's going to suck. Like, I didn't find much redeeming things about last week. Kane and Lily's date was probably, and it wasn't even a real date, was probably the only thing about the week that I watched without fast forwarding. Because I do think Kane and Lily have some chemistry. That's what I'm looking for in some of these soaps. Holden was not on all week. We had some Claire and Kyle scenes. They're in this alliance against Audra. It's the only other thing I care about. I'm over the Matt story with Roger Howard. So I don't know how much more Young and the Restless I'll be watching either. Add to the list of soaps that I tried to watch again, but couldn't get on board with. Days is also annoying me because as much as I've been looking forward to the return of the character of Peter Blake, even though it's not the original actor, it is, I can't pronounce his last name. He used to be on One Life to Live. The actor is Dan Guthrie. It's not Guthrie. That's what I always say, but that's not how you pronounce it. Anyway, he's the one playing Peter now. It's a character returning after nearly 3 decades on the show. They're doing that big Damaris storyline where they've all been kidnapped, put in the tomb. It's still a mystery of who is actually doing this to the Damaris. Is it one of them themselves? EJ's wound up in the tomb now. Peter's wound up in the tomb now. I was thinking and assuming Peter was going to be the one behind all this. He'd been gone for so long. He maybe feels like the Demira Empire has been... He's been shunned from the Demira Empire, basically. He's meeting Chad for the first time, kind of meeting Theo for the first time, even though he knew he was Lexi's son and all that. The other part of the story, though, that will be intriguing to me, if it is indeed Lexi that is still alive, that EJ and Rolf are trying to resurrect, I guess you can say. That interests me. I like that they're doing this big Demira storyline. The one problem, well, there's many problems, but one of the problems is that there's so many recasts with these characters. I know Chad's a recast too, and he's about to be recast again, but Billy Flynn, is Chad. He's not the original Chad, but he is Chad. Obviously, it's the original Tony, but everyone else are these recast characters, and it's hard to have that emotional pull towards them because... that's not who some of us think of when we think of those characters. But I still like that they are doing this storyline. Days struggles with having stakes in their storylines. There's not enough tension that something can happen to these characters. And that's a struggle with the writing and kind of with all of the stories. I've been saying this for weeks. They have good ideas, but when it comes to actually pulling off these ideas on screen, where's the stakes? Where's the drama? It all seems very tepid, and that's what's missing from this show. And it got me wondering if that's a problem with having 2 women as head writers. I know, not to be sexist or anything, because I talk my shit about when men write soap operas too. They have their own struggles when it comes to writing women characters. And I mean, even Josh Griffith on Young and the Restless, he's a god-awful writer. So it really doesn't have too much to do with men and women. But I think the problem, 2 women writing Days of Our Lives, 2 women writing Beyond the Gates, is they're great at understanding some of the characters, especially the women characters, and character development. I think they try and do that. But when it comes to these plots, what we're seeing with Guza being away from Beyond the Gates now, and now there being 2 women head writers. There used to be 1 man, 1 woman, and I feel like the balance with the stories was better that way, because Beyond the Gates is kind of missing the drama right now too. And so I'm wondering, how do both of these writing teams, with 2 women in charge of the writing teams, how do we get their great character development, but also add some dramatic plots to up the ante to make us want to see these storylines play out? It's a struggle that both shows are having, and I just find it very interesting that it's because they do have 2 women head writers at the helm, and they are lacking a balance with getting their characters, which they're doing a good job of character development, and finding the plots to make those characters in exciting plots. And that is a problem I have with both Days and Beyond the Gates. So I will continue to watch Days. Will I continue to talk about it here? I don't know. I might just make Sundays my Beyond the Gates preview day until some of these other soap operas either get better or make changes to their writing teams, or in General Hospital's case, changing to their production. Give us a new head producer, because Valentini isn't it. Let's get to some of your Beyond the Gates comments over these past week of episodes. Quasera, who's always a great commenter, said, Hayley and Lynette scenes are fun. I seriously doubt they trust one another. I am sure they see each other as con artists, so Lynette will probably try to figure out what Hayley is really up to. That is one of the great things about the dynamic between Hayley and Lynette, is that they both know that they're both con artists. And I think that's why we saw Hayley and Randy not trusting Lynette yet and trying to really figure her out, see if she was on the up and not trying to scam them. And I hope Lynette does end up scamming them some way. Quast Sarah also said, Vanessa is so pathetic with Joey, it's hard to watch. Joey is probably regretting getting into business with such a whiny and demanding woman. He has to be. I mean, if we know Joey from what we've been presented as Joey for 10 months now, Joey would 100% want to stop dealing with Vanessa. How demanding she has gotten. And he, for most times, does a good job of trying to push back on her neediness and her demands, but then he kind of eventually gives in a little bit here and there, gives in a little bit more. And yeah, their scenes together are definitely some of my least favorite scenes right now on the show, as I've been saying. Harriet Smallwood said, I like Lynette so far. I don't think that she is buying what Hayley's trying to sell about being in love with Bill. She might end up trying to take Bill from Hayley. That's a possibility. Maybe Lynette will try and take Bill from Hayley and try and be the new Dupree woman. I hope Lynette sticks around. She's brought some more excitement for the show for me as a character. It's how I felt about when the show started and Eva and Leslie were schemers. They need to not fall into the same trap that they fell into with Leslie and not write her into a corner too soon, and clearly not know how to deal with writing that character into a corner. They've tried to go different directions with Leslie for months now, and it's not working as good as it was working at the beginning of the show. So I really hope they learn their lesson from that with Leslie and do a better job with the Lynette character, because she might quickly become one of my favorite characters on the show. Hemi30 said, I just roll my eyes when Ted starts talking about how he wishes he could be there for Eva, or have been there for Eva when she was growing up. The writers are definitely trying to course correct with Ted's character, and Ted's gift for Shanice was stupid. I hated it. It just furthers my disdain for this pairing. If Nicole doesn't want Kyle, send him over to Shanice. I mean, that's a possibility too, Kyle and Shanice. I don't see that happening, but as I said earlier, I knew Hemi was not really feeling the Ted and Shanice pairing, because it is hard to like the character of Ted and hard to root for the character of Ted, because the writing has sucked for him for quite a while. And there was a point when we learned information about Ted finding out that Leslie was pregnant, and clearly back in the day wanted her or hired Bill to get her to get an abortion. So Ted acting like he's the best father and that he wishes he knew about Eva back then, when clearly he knew that Leslie was pregnant and possibly had his child and just wanted her to get an abortion. Like, it's really hard for us now to like pretend that didn't happen, I guess. They're trying to make the Ted character work, but I don't know if it's working because of the bad writing he's had all year long. Hemi also said, one of my issues with the show is the constant stalling with certain storylines. For a show that hasn't been around very long, I think it's a mistake for them to keep taking these long breaks with nothing exciting happening. They need to keep up the momentum. My mom watches soap operas, and I can't even get her to watch this show. She tries checking it out every once in a while, but it's not pulling her in. She probably sees nothing much is happening and goes back to watching General Hospital. Yeah, I mean, as I said in the comments, I feel as though General Hospital's pacing is even worse than Beyond the Gates. But what General Hospital is good at is they have cliffhangers, at least, to keep people wanting to watch. It brings a little more excitement episode by episode than Beyond the Gates has been struggling to do as of late. I do feel like the past few months, since we got the new co-head writer and since Guza left, some of these storylines don't seem like they're going anywhere. And there is it seems like a stalling issue. Either they're trying to come up with new ideas, but those new ideas need to come a little faster. I watched an interview with Michelle Valjean on the Soapy podcast, And I liked everything she had to say. And she talked about some of the stories she came up with for General Hospital back in the day. And some of them were great ideas. I think she has good ideas. I think her type of good ideas are not necessarily the kind of soap opera I like, but I still think it can work. But right now, we're not seeing those good ideas. I think she is struggling with having a good direction for some of these characters. I can't believe that she had the Ashley and Derek stuff go on as long as they did. That was one of the worst decisions made by her. I think maybe at the end of the year, maybe Friday, one of these days at the end of the year, I'm going to do a video about the best ideas from Beyond the Gates in this first year and the things that Beyond the Gates needs to improve on most. I think that's a decent idea to go after. Maybe drop some of your ideas in the comments. What's some of the things you think Beyond the Gates does well and doesn't do well? Pulse Graves said, agree that the writing for the Duprees has many problems, especially how they tiptoe around Leslie, who just gets away with everything she touches. And it really needs to change. Ted seems to be getting a rewrite and it isn't helping him redeem his past. True, in the earlier part, Ted paid Bill to get Leslie to have an abortion, which she doesn't have, and as far as we know. So now Ted's several diatribes with Eva doesn't add up, while it is making Ted, like they're trying to make Ted have a good father award. Yeah, that's kind of like what I just said. The rewrite for Ted is a choice. And 100% right with the way the Duprees tiptoe around Leslie. Like, it doesn't make sense that every single Dupree except maybe Kat would try and tiptoe around Leslie. Like, I've brought up the point in the past that the Duprees are very fake when it comes to how they want to be seen socially. So maybe that's an excuse for part of the reason why they tiptoe around Leslie. But the show needs characters to stand up to Leslie more. I think it would help the writing in general, and it would actually help the Leslie character and make people less annoyed with the way they've been writing the Leslie character. Simone 1488 said they are really wasting the opportunity to explore the relationship / family dynamics with the Hawthorns. Elon's relationship with his sons is one of the most interesting storylines. I agree. I like the character of Elon, and I like what they've been setting up for the Hawthorns. But like my man Devin commented in the comments, he said, much like Chelsea's girlfriend's mom, if you're going to talk about a character, show them. All the talk about Isaiah and Jacob's mom annoyed me. Great point. This is another character we always hear about, but we never see. And this show is falling into the bad soap opera trope with the writing when it comes to telling us instead of showing us, which is a modern day problem for soap operas, and the fact that the show's already falling into that trope kind of sucks. Devin also said, Andre and Anita's segment legit brought a tear to my eye. Maybe the first time in this show they've done that. Great job here. I thought those scenes with Anita and Andre talking about Andre having to spend the holidays without really having a family, Andre really opening up about that was really well done. They've been doing an awesome job with the Andre character for the past few months. One of the only characters that's gotten like really great development in recent months has been Andre. We've seen Andre kind of grow before our eyes, which we can't say for a lot of other characters on the show. Michelle Carr Watkins said, sickness and death storylines bore me. I look at daytime dramas for the storylines that the show initially jumped off with. No more live TV for me, so I can fast forward through the sickness bull. I don't love sickness storylines on soap operas either. I like to watch soap operas to escape from reality. I mean, I'm a Pisces, so everything I do is an escape from reality. But I like my soap operas to kind of just be over-the-top drama. Plenty of soap operas in the past have been good at bringing health issues to light. It's like they want people to get their checkups, which is smart. But suffering through a cancer storyline, it's a hard watch, and it's not something I'm looking forward to with the Anita storyline, even though I know the acting is going to be on point. I don't know if the writing is going to be on point. I hope they don't have Leslie in any part of Anita's cancer storyline, or that can go downhill really, really fast. Alicia8857 said Shanice should drop that awful lunchbox at the closet Goodwill, the closest Goodwill. Yeah, that lunchbox was quite the bad idea from Ashley. The lunchbox that had organ donor on it. I guess it was supposed to be funny. I thought it was atrocious. It doesn't look like Shanice's style either. So maybe we'll get a scene in the future where Shanice has a different lunchbox and lies to Ashley that she lost it or something. Last comment before I gotta go. Carolyn McWilson said, I hope all of this gossip blows up in Ted and Leslie's face for spreading such lies. Leslie will be done for with this one. Yeah, I do think if she and Ted continue to spread the news that Vernon's having an affair with Sharon, that I hope it just blows up in Leslie's face somehow. But I don't think it will be enough to really do damage to Leslie because she's such a narcissist anyway, as we've been seeing more and more. But the show needs to do something to have the Leslie character have a fall, because I've seen more complaints about Leslie. Well, that's not completely true. I mean, I see more complaints about Tomas and Ashley and Derek. That those people got the most complaints, and for the right reasons. Those characters deserve all the complaints that they get. But the other character with the most complaints is probably Leslie. They need to find a better way to start writing the Leslie character. That's all for me this week. Thanks for joining me. I will promote the Patreon real quick before I go. Patreon.com/OCGTV. Watching old soap hour episodes and reviewing them. You can watch along with me. Doing General Hospital from Luke and Laura's reunion in 1983. Rest in peace, Anthony Geary, who passed away earlier this week, like we talked about. That's been watching that time. That's made it different watching it now that he passed away. And also doing One Life to Live from 1989, the crazy-ass Eterna storyline. Very sci-fi like, but also very good writing, despite it being sci-fi in my opinion, at least so far. And then, of course, Days of Our Lives from 1983. The Salem slasher storyline. We'll be adding some of those episodes later this week.